So we're going to do one more very special side order tonight, and we're actually going to tie this in with the collectible of the month. And you know, I already pulled one from my collection, but I'm sorry, I'm really proud of this collectible, so I'm going to do it again. We're going to feature Tim's, I was going to say his first band, but actually I don't think it was his first band. I know that it was the first time he had any studio recording, and that band would be Stormer. You know, they put out a very limited amount of pressings. They pressed a 45, they printed 500 from what I understand and from what I've heard from talking to Tim in email conversations and so forth, and they weren't even really sold. These were just sent out to different media outlets back in the early 80s, 81, 82. Actually, this is a Christmas 45, and again it was service to radio. The track we're going to hear is called Yuletide Fever. Not very many of these things survived since the time that they were put out there and sent out to the media. You know, I think Tim himself has one or maybe two copies. I looked and searched for this thing for years and years, and just within the last 3 years I was able to finally obtain a copy. So I don't think you'll find this one out there, unfortunately, but if you go to the Strictly Stryper website, have some pictures of it up there for you, and when you hear this right now, you'll actually be able to hear some of the little, because it's 45, it's a record, you can hear some of that little record scratching or the needle there going on this song, but it probably has not been played on the radio in over 20 years, and we're going to bring it back.
All the trees in love.
How cool was that? Well, just to clarify, I was actually on Tim's site while that track was playing there and looking at his biography, and before Stormer was Afton Kid. And I knew that. I forgot. Sorry about that. Afton Kid, he was an Afton Kid in about 79. Stormer came along about 80, 81. The single actually was put out in 81. Now, I understand there was actually a full album by Stormer put out, or not put out, I'm sorry, that was recorded, but actually never ever released. So, actually, it used to be a MySpace up with those old Stormer tracks. So we'll try and find that, and if we can track down that MySpace page, we'll put a link to it from Strictly Stryper and check out some of those older tunes from Tim there back pre-Stryper days. So, up next, we're just about to wrap up the show. We're going to bring on Brian Marshall, our awesome web dude, JBM Design. You need a web design, you need some graphics for that CD, for your band, he's the guy to go to. JBM Design, you can find that over on our strictlystryper.com website. Hey Brian, how you doing?
Doing well, Bill. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for coming in and helping me round off the show again here.
Not a problem.
So, we put that poll up there last time about what should we call the show, 60 minutes of Strictly Stryper, 90 minutes, or just drop it all and call it Strictly Stryper. How's that one been coming along?
Well, actually, overwhelmingly, the votes are coming in. They just want it to be Strictly Stryper, and will leave a number off of there, because I think that just kind of gives you a general name to use, and you're not limiting yourself to a certain amount of time. So I think the fans have spoken, and I think that's probably the best.
Awesome. I agree. That's it. You heard it here first. Next episode, dropping the 60 minutes, and we're going to call it Strictly Stryper.
There you go.
Cool. And we'll have a new poll up there for December, so make sure you go to strictlystryper.com and check that out. Hey, Brian, before earlier in the show, I was talking a little bit about, well, actually, we played a track from Laudamus that featured Ken Tamplin. And I alluded to the fact that we were going to talk a little bit about Ken a little bit here at the end of the show. And I know you've had the chance to hear it, but Rox Records is releasing the new Pastor Brad album next year. We're very excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
Breakout comes out in spring 2010. Brian helped us put together the artwork for a simple introduction to Pastor Brad through the Rox family, and we're actually releasing Christmas Shred. Awesome. Yeah, and we're only printing 100 of those, so if you want one of those, you'll be able to get a link from strictlystryper.com. But the tie-in was the Ken Tamplin thing, and also the special guests on this thing. You want to try and tie it back to Stryper. I was talking earlier about having to stretch things to tie them into Strictly Stryper. Well, here's the tie-in. Not only are we going to have Ken Tamplin as a guest star on this CD release in the spring, Kenny Metcalf is going to be recording some keyboards for this thing too. So, Stryper family, or not, if you're not in the Stryper family, you're going to love this release.